So hello everyone, I am Dailin Sirlativo and now I'm gonna do a story summary of The Fault in Our Stars. The Fault in Our Stars is a very popular romantic movie or story since 2014, written by John Green. John Michael Green was born on August 24, 1977 in Indianapolis, Indiana, to Mike and Sydney Green.
As the skyline splits in two, miles away from sea.
The Fault in Our Stars revolve around the protagonist, Hazel Grace. She is 16 years old and being diagnosed with a lung cancer since a very young age. She joins a support group rather reluctantly and she meets a guy named Augustus Waters. Augustus Waters has a bone cancer and he lost his one leg, but he still looks happy. Then, while Augustus talks to Hazel, he takes his cigarette and places it between his lips. Hazel gets frustrated and tells him how it is to live with a lung cancer and how it feels like not to breathe. Augustus then smiles, and he tells to Hazel that he never lighted a cigarette. It's metaphor. He said that he places the thing that has a power to kill him, but he never gives a power.
Miles away from seeing you, but I can see the stars from America.
Hazel is impressed by the idea of Augustus and goes to his home. They exchange their favorite book, and after reading the book, Hazel makes Augustus to fall in love with her favorite author named Peter Van Houten, the author of An Imperial Affliction novel. Then Hazel tells him that she wanted to meet the author and asked him about the ending, but she thought it was just a dream. Augustus then finds a link with an author's secretary and gets Hazel email through to him. The author replies that he would be glad to meet her if she ever goes to Amsterdam. Then Hazel gets very excited and tells her parents about it. But her mother sadly says that they have not got enough money to make a trip. Then Hazel gets a bit upset and tells to Augustus about it. Augustus arranged for her trip and Hazel became more happy and tells it to her parents. They are all agree except her doctor. Meanwhile, Augustus' friend Isaac loses his eyes and his girlfriend who promised to never leave him, but eventually she does. Augustus and Hazel give sympathy to Isaac. Then one day, Hazel wakes up and finds out that her parents and had arranged for her trip to Amsterdam.
From seeing you, but I can see the stars from America. I wonder, do you see them too?
Hazel and her mother will be going to Amsterdam to meet Hazel's favorite writer. When Hazel tells this to Augustus, Augustus rapidly replies that he wants to go with her too. In Amsterdam, Hazel and Augustus has a hefty and fancy dinner after they knew it was already paid off by the author. The next day, they meet him, but to both of their astonishment, they find out that the author is a mean and cruel person. He doesn't even tell to Hazel what Hazel wants to know, and instead mocks Hazel for her belief in fiction and her disease. They get out of his home upset. Then his secretary comes out to say sorry about the behavior. She takes Hazel and Augustus to Anne Frank's museum, where after Hazel spends time, she realizes how beautiful everything is, and then she kisses Augustus. Then the next day, Augustus tells to Hazel what he was hiding. He tells her before the trip happened, he would find out that he was dying. Hazel gets upset about what Augustus told and cries for him. Then later, they come back to their home and enjoy the time as much as they can. Augustus now has to use a wheelchair, and one day at the church, Augustus and his best friend Isaac prepare for a pre-funeral for Augustus. He calls Hazel to come and give the speech, and then Hazel made a speech for him. They enjoy their time as much as they can, and after 8 days, Augustus died at the ICU. At the funeral, Peter Van Houten meets Hazel. Hazel tells that he is ready to talk about the ending of a story. Then Hazel refuses. She is upset and wants him to leave. The author gives letter to Hazel, but she refuses and throws it in the car and goes. Then later, Hazel sits beside Isaac and they talk about how much Augustus loved to Hazel. And then Isaac tells her if she had read the letter. Hazel tells to Isaac that she is no longer interested in reading the books of Mr. Hutton, but Isaac tells her that the letter is not from Mr. Hutton but from Augustus.
Splits in two, miles away from seeing you, but I can see the stars from America. I wonder, do you see them too? So open your eyes and see as the skyline splits in two, miles away from seeing you, but I can see the stars from America. I wonder, do you see them too? So open your eyes and see as the skyline splits in two, miles away from seeing you, but I can see the stars from America. I wonder, do you see them too? So open your eyes and see as the skyline splits in two, miles away from seeing you, but I can see the stars from America. I wonder, do you see them too? So open your eyes and see as the skyline splits in two, miles away from seeing you, but I can see the stars from America. I wonder, do you see them too? So open your eyes.
3 days later, on the 11th of Augustus, Augustus' father called Hazel in the morning, and she didn't answer, but she listened to the message. Augustus' father found a notebook in the magazine's rack that was near Augustus' hospital bed. Hazel quickly finds the letter in the car and starts reading it. Augustus tells the letter how beautiful Hazel is in whatever she does and how much he loves her. He tells her that what will the world be without them, and says the world without them would be worthless. He ends the letter by saying,
But I can see the stars from America. I wonder, do you see them?
the ending is filled with some emotionally loaded and tragic stuff. The plot point is clear in the end, the love of Hazel Gray's life. Augustus Waters dies when he's 17 years old. Through his death, Hazel is able to learn something, about herself, her take on mortality, and her role in the world. People will say it's sad the scar, that few remember her, that lovely deeply, but not widely. But it is not sad. And these are the characters of The Fault in Our Stars. Hazel Grace Lancaster, the novel's narrator and 16 years old protagonist. Augustus Waters, or Gust, the 16 years old with osteosarcoma who become Hazel's boyfriend. Mr. and Mrs. Lancaster,